Welcome to Adewale Adeniji, Nation, Heritage and Self. On this channel, we discuss national issues, Nigeria and Africa-centric, our heritage and culture, and of course, ourselves, how to make ourselves better in our personal and professional lives. Please go through our channel to watch our videos, and don't forget to like them and subscribe to this channel. If you click on the bell button beside the subscribe icon, you will get notifications each time we post a video. Enjoy today's video.
Hello again to you, dear friends. I hope you are keeping safe, and I hope your family members are also keeping safe. I am, and we are. Thank you for staying with us in this series of emotional intelligence. And welcome to episode 3, where we will be looking at life regulation. As a way of brief recap, you would remember that we had in episode 1 discussed what emotions are, and we had in episode 2 traced the evolution of the study of the human emotion as a serious area of scientific research from the time of Williams and the work that the DiMarcios have done. So today we would like to look at another thing that takes the narrative a step further. In discussing this topic today, I'd like to begin and end with 2 quotations. The first quotation is by an American philosopher and poet, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And the second quotation is by an American journalist who reports extensively on psychology, on mental health, on neuroscience, Caroline Gregory. Let's start with the quotation from Emerson. He says, "The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be." That's powerful. Let's look at the second quotation. Caroline says, "The way we manage emotions, both our emotion and those of others, can play a critical role in determining our happiness and success." Wow. Determining our happiness and success. The way we manage our emotions and the emotions of others. And the first one by Emerson says, you and I, yes, not the third party, you and I are the only persons who can become what we choose to become. These quotations are powerful. And it tells me one thing straight away. The keys to how our life turn out does not belong to any other person, but belongs exclusively in our hands. Which is why we need to understand the topic of this series, to become emotionally intelligent. Now, there is a process to life, and up and down the scientific continuum, up and down the neuroscience or psychology continuum, people agree that there are 8 processes to biological life. And the 8 processes I will show to you on the screen right now, from 1 to the end. Now, what you will discover is that part of this life processes is the process called regulation. Regulation. Life regulation is the process by which a living organism does 2 things: controls and coordinates its various activities. Control, coordinate all its activities. Now, this process in living organisms allows that living organism's nervous and endocrine systems to regulate its metabolic activities. Now, I promised that I would explain this high-sounding scientific word. So, metabolic activities, these are the chemical process that occurs in a living organism, which that living organism needs to sustain life. Now, because the environment of a living organism changes on a constant, consistent basis, the only way that living organism can maintain a stable internal environment is by constantly, again, controlling and regulating its own metabolic activities. And this is the process that science calls homeostasis. Homeostasis. Now, I'll give some examples of homeostasis in a human being to drive home what I just told you. 3 examples. Number 1, a human being regulates his body temperature. Where, for example, that human being finds himself or herself in a very hot environment, like under the harshness of the sun, you will notice that that body, that human body, begins to sweat. The sweat glands open, and the surface of the body it becomes covered with sweat. That is a process. The body, the internal mechanism of that living organism trying to ameliorate the heat, because the sweat cools down the body. A second example is how that human being handles and responds to external stimuli. The decision to react in anger, the decision to react in joy, can be regulated by a living organism, quite distinct from an animal. The third one is a living body, a living human body that is healthy, has the ability to regulate its blood sugar level. Now, this is not a biology class or scientific class, so that I don't need to begin to break down in molecules and particles the blood sugar regulation process. But you get the picture. So, how does this life regulation process relate to our understanding of emotional intelligence? I'll tell you why. You remember that we had discussed in episode 2 that having a language and thinking faculty made the evolution of the science of emotion possible. Can you remember that? Okay. So, the use of this language and the thinking enabled us as human beings to combine some fundamentals of life process, such as emotions or feelings, with reasoning to become adaptable to the new world around us. This is what sets us as human beings apart, for example, from animals who also have emotions. This ability to understand, to regulate, and therefore harness and manage our emotions. Now, I'll give an example. Those of us who have dogs or who have lived with dogs before would know that after a long period of separation, when your dog sees you, often than not, the reaction of the dog will be to jump up and down, to wag its tail, and the like. Where the dog sees somebody that is not familiar or smells somebody whose smell he's not familiar with, the tendency is for the dog to bark. Pure reaction to external stimuli. Now, for the human being, if you've been separated from your family for a long time, naturally when you reunite with them, it will be a feeling of excitement, people happy, jumping up and down. But what happens if, when you do return from a trip, you discover that, yes, you're excited to see your family members, but an intervening event had happened whilst you were away that does not cause for exuberant celebration. Then, because of your thinking faculty, because of your reasoning power, then you tone down the excitement. Yes, you are still excited to see them, but you would like to know, okay, so what happened? Is everybody okay and all that? That the dog or any animal does not have. And that is what separates human beings and animals when it comes to the study of emotions. In human beings, we are able to do it in extenso because of these processes. Okay, good. So, now, what part of our body enables the human being to stand out from instinctive animals, for example? And this is the part of the brain that is called the prefrontal cortex area. The prefrontal cortex area. Now, the diagram on the screen, it is the area that we have colored in red. Now, this area colored in red is what scientists refer to as the executive functioning role or part of the human brain. Executive functions. Now, this is the area that allows a human being to exercise judgment, impulse control, management of aggression, emotional regulation, that enables the human being to plan, to reason, and where his social skills are developed and harnessed. So please bear this in mind, because later in this series, we will be talking about how to regulate your emotions and also how to leverage emotional intelligence. This prefrontal cortex area will come up again when we discuss that. So, let me begin to round up this episode by going back, as I promised, to the two quotations we began with. The quotation of Emerson and the quotation of Gregory. Now, you see them again on the screen. With what I have explained with life process, can you begin to see a new meaning and understanding to these two quotations? That the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be, and that determining our happiness and our success has a lot to do with the way we manage our emotions and the emotion of other people. It therefore lies with each of us, my dear listener, my dear viewer, how well we understand and deploy emotional intelligence to determine what we seek out of our life. The extent to which we want our success to reach belongs to what you do, what I do, part time. I have no doubt in my ability, however, that you, dear listener, you, dear viewer, are determined to succeed, determined to excel. And that is what I believe understanding emotional intelligence will give to us as leverage. Until the next time I come your way, keep alive, keep safe, and remember, we love you. My name is Adewale Adeniji. Bye for now.